I think she knew every word there was, and when she encountered a new word she didn't know, she had to know it. And because she had to know it, my sister and I got to learn it too. My mother loved words. She loved stories. She loved to read to her. She loved to hear us read to her. She let us scribble on paper on the junk mail when we were little and pretend we were writing, and then she'd get us to tell us the story that we just wrote. This is my mother, more years ago than I'm willing to admit on this stage. This was before Marie Clay and others who discovered how important it is to put writing utensils in the hands of young children and let them make communication. First with scribbles and pictures, and then little words put together into sentences, and sentences put together into a conversation, and ultimately to be able to create a conversation that lets our children join the world in a bigger conversation. I had a teacher who knew that I needed to read more than anything else in the world, and walked me across the campus in the Muskegon Public Schools. I was in Marquette Elementary. Let's hear it for Muskegon Marquette Elementary. Yes, okay. He walked me across the campus to the middle school so that I could get access to books that I needed to read because I needed to read at my reading level. And then gave the librarian a little talking to when she tried to tell me that I had to go over here because that's where the girls' books were, and when I really wanted to be over here because the boys' books had some really great adventure stories, and I wanted those stories. I had educators in my life all along the way who loved literacy and loved what literacy could offer all of us for an opportunity to see the world and beyond. I had educators all along the way who knew that literacy was the way we opened windows to the universe and the way we opened doors of opportunity. That's what I had. I want every one of the children that we educate to have the same thing. And that's why I'm here on this stage today. So thank you for letting me tell you about what I've had as opportunities, and what I hope together we can create as opportunities for all the children we educate. So, I want to celebrate you first and tell you that at the beginning and the middle and the end, the HIL Project is about these four things. It's about appreciating what we have, the children we have, the schools in which we can educate them, the colleagues sitting in this room, who are excellent educators, who are born to be educators, and who come to that work every day with passion. It's about appreciating the work that we're doing to try to make things better and better for the children who are our most reluctant readers. It's about appreciation for the way in which we're not letting things in our children's lives stand in the way of our commitment to them learning. It's about the commitment we have for overcoming poverty and anything else that gets in the way of our children developing full, rich lives through literacy. It's also about aspiration, because we know we're not there. We're on the way. We're going to get there. We think in 2 years, by coming together as a community, we're going to get there deeper, faster, and more fully. And we're going to celebrate every point along the way together. That's what these summits are about. They're about celebrating. It's about hope, because there are going to be days that are just plain old too tough. When no matter what we seem to do, there are children we can't reach. And yet we come back the next day with hope in our hearts and a smile on our face and the best strategies we can pull forth. And we go after it one more day. And one more day, and one more day, because we have the hope and belief that if we hang in there long enough, if we persist, our children are all going to get there. They may not get there all at the same time, but we're going to get them there. And it's about support, and that's where the grant comes in. We love the idea. Dr. Shen, my co-director and co-investigator, Dr. Shen, would you please stand, please? established under the Reading Now Network and then eventually the General Education Leadership Network with the Literacy Task Force. I want to recognize one of our wonderful colleagues and collaborators, Pete Haynes, Superintendent of Ottawa ISD. In the back, would you wave at everybody, Pete Haynes? We met Kyle Mayer earlier today. Kyle opened up a conversation with you. And Doug Greer, where's Doug? Doug Greer over here. There are way too many people who brought us to this day to single out any one or just a few people. But the people I just introduced to you or reintroduced to you are the team who put their heads together to put this grant application together and create a successful award of $12.5 million. So I wanted to really make sure that we recognize that all these words, aspiration, hope, and appreciation, is what came together because of our belief in you, and we knew if we brought you the right resources and the right support at the right time, you would do amazing things with it. So what my job is now is to bring you into a conversation about the actual work of the HIL Project. We have over and over again assured you that we are not another initiative for you to implement. You have all made a commitment to making your schools places where all children can become highly literate. They can learn to read, they can learn to write, they can learn to speak, they can crack the code of language, and they can use all of those talents and skills to go forth in their education and pursue whatever opportunities lie ahead for them. Because you made that commitment, we don't have to ask you to take on a new initiative. We just need to be there to support what you're doing. And we're going to support that with some very important strategies that have been shown to work to help schools get to high integrity. Integrity means it fits your school, because we know what it's like when we try to adopt initiatives and patch them into a school without making them fit. Each of you has a unique school. So integrity means that we're going to help you use what is true and good and possible within your school, with your children and your educators, to go after literacy. And that may look a little different than it does in the next school and the next school. We also want to get to high fidelity. And fidelity means that you get to identify what the cornerstones of literacy are going to be for your school. And we're going to help you focus on those until they are so deeply ingrained in your day-to-day practice that you no longer have to think about them. They're just part of how you do school. So integrity to fit your school, fidelity to make sure that what you implement will actually give you the results with children that you're looking for. I do need to acknowledge that this project couldn't have happened without a lot of partners and collaborators. On the screen you see some of just a few of them. We've talked about Western Michigan University's part in this, the Reading Now Network, the GELN Literacy Task Force, the Department of Ed, who provided the money, thank you very much, but they also provide us a lot of technical support because this isn't their first rodeo, and they know how to support large-scale projects like this all around the country. What's fun for us is because of that, we get to connect with big projects around the country that focus on teacher development and principal development. We have 17 different intermediate school districts, 86 local districts, and 152 schools involved in this project. That's why this room is so full. The link on this slide will take you to a map, and I want to take you to that map, if I can. Because I don't think it's really sinks in until you see the scope of this project. These are the Cohort A schools, right, or Cohort B schools. These are the Cohort A schools. Look at that, folks. Look at how we're saturating Western Michigan. We already have people asking us, when does the east side of the state get their turn? Okay. Derek, where are you?
I'm right here.
You want to show me how to get back to mine?
That's the top tab. Let's go back to April Summit.
I'm sorry.
You're there. Let's keep going to April Summit.
There we go.
Right there.
Okay, so we're back.
Now go down and give yourself full screen. Full screen icon right there. Boom.
All right. You gotta have a Derek, right? You gotta have a Derek. So I wanted to show you that there are other links in this PowerPoint that I won't take time to get you into, but I want you to, because you have access to it and this will stay alive for you. The other links will take you to different parts of our HIL Project website. And in the months ahead, your facilitators are going to help you navigate that website because it'll be full of information and resources. We're setting up resource pages for the facilitators to use to access good resources to work with you and for you to talk to each other and network with each other. So get to know our website over the next few weeks. I want to recognize Linda Wasik, where are you? Linda, stand up, and Tom, where's Tom? Okay, these are our two communications coordinator and our website developer and master and our videographer. Tom does just about everything we need to help bring our story to life, and we want to thank them for the work. I think you all know this, but we have a 3-year funding guaranteed, and then that is if we do good work and we cross all our T's and dot all our I's. We get renewed every year. But we also have another $9.5 million potential for years 4 and 5. So if we all do great work together, no pressure, folks, but you all have partner schools back in your districts that are part of Cohort B, and they're saying, when do we get our turn? So based on how well we do in these next 2 years, we can create that opportunity for all the Cohort B schools as well. So not only are we doing the work for the schools that are here today, but we're doing the work on behalf of all the schools who aren't here today as well. So, project goals. We're pretty simple. We want to make sure that we have strong literacy for all students in all the schools that are here today. Our work is based on 5 grants that Dr. Shen and I and others at Western have had to help develop strategies for leaders to use to create the capacity in a school that helps that school renew itself over and over again to get better and better results with students. And so you'll be hearing about the leadership work and the work that helps build leadership capacity in your schools. You'll also hear about the work that we have validated for helping you achieve high integrity and high fidelity implementation of your literacy work. Now remember, we aren't going to tell you how to, what literacy program to implement or how. We're going to expose you to the literacy essentials and help you within the literacy essentials find those places where you need to create a stronger and stronger literacy framework for your own school. We have a management team. We have a research team. The research team is going to ask a few things of you from time to time. You've already helped us by completing surveys in your schools that will help give us some initial data. We'll also be producing some ways to gather information about how the project is working for you so that we can use that information to make any mid-course corrections so that we keep looking at how we are doing serving you and using your feedback to help us serve you better. We also have a coordinating team, and I want to recognize our coordinating team working right now. And you're going to actually be meeting with these coordinators in the breakout. So those of you who go to room A in the breakout session will go with Derek Wheaton. Those of you who go to room B will go with Diane Tallow. Those of you who go to room C will go with Lori Schmidt. Those of you who go with Dorothy Vanderjack will go to room D. Jenny Sell will be in room E. And in room F will be Janice Brown and Kyle Mayer. Those are members of our coordinating team. And then the last member of our coordinating team is Doug Greer, who we're just going to let him float. Right, Doug? Again, take some time to use these links. At this link, you'll see an operations map for how we function. And you're also going to see an amazing list of partners that keeps growing all the time. So this website is going to be a living animal, and it'll always have new information. So make sure you connect with the website regularly and frequently. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about how we plan to serve you. This slide may be the most important thing we need to communicate today. We've created a set of guiding principles that are going to guide the way we work with you. And we want you to help us live up to those principles. First of all, as we work with you, we are going to come to you with an appreciative mindset and a growth mindset. And we're going to invite you to do the same. So you will notice that as we engage with you and ask questions of you, those questions are about what is it that we have to appreciate? What is it that we have by way of strengths and capacities that we can bring to bear on developing a strong literacy program for our children? Where is the leadership in our school, and how can we understand and develop and appreciate that leadership? We also have adopted the adaptive schools approach, which means we're prepared to be adaptive to you, not the other way around. You don't need to adapt to us, we're going to adapt to you. And the way we're going to do that is by working with your facilitators at least once and sometimes twice a month. And when they come together, they debrief what it is they're experiencing in the schools. And then we work with them to help be adaptive to what they're experiencing with you. So there's constantly a flow back and forth between you and us who are managing the project through your facilitators. Their job is to be supportive, not critical. Their job is to be facilitative, not to take the wheel away from you. You're still in the lead, it's still your school. We're not there to subvert your leadership, we're there to empower it and increase it. We're there to be confidential. When we're there with you in your schools, whatever happens in that engagement stays between us. This is not a case where you have to worry about tales being told outside your school. No pun intended. They're going to work collaboratively with you and with each other as facilitators so that we can all be learning and growing together. They'll be non-judgmental, and at the end of the day, when we're ready to leave you at the end of 2 years, our job is to make sure you're so empowered to carry on the work on your own with such a strong leadership team, you don't need us anymore. In other words, our job is to put ourselves out of a job. And to kind of illustrate how we hope to get all of your relationships started, I'm going to call Julie McDonald from Edison Elementary in KPS and Jeremy Andrick up, and they're going to share a little bit about how they've begun their journey together as facilitator and building principal. Please welcome Jeremy Andrick and Julie McDonald.
Hello, it's live. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Julie McDonald, as Dr. Reeves said, from Edison in Kalamazoo Public Schools.
And I'm Jeremy Andrick, a HIL Facilitator working with Edison.
So I'd like to say that our journey has been, it's good. We started out with what are we supposed to do? And I'd like to say that this just came easy, but it didn't. So first thing we did, as you know, many of you learned in October, November, December that we had a grant and we were randomly chosen to be part of this cohort. So then as we were finding out that we needed to have a facilitator, it's like, okay, here we go again. One more thing that we're going to bring in and then it's going to go away. So we took a lot of time to figure out what to do. I didn't have a facilitator until January, when after instructional rounds were done. And then Jeremy and our director of elementary ed met, and it started from there. It was a good combination from the beginning.
So I know some people in this room have heard this story, my story. So I came to Michigan. I grew up in Lansing, but I've been in Colorado for the last 18 years, where my last job there was an elementary school principal. But I felt like there was something missing. So I called Western, came out and visited Dr. Reeves, and she told me about the work that they're doing. And so mind you, I was doing very well out in Colorado. But I wanted to do something different and meaningful. So when I read about the work, came out in April, met with Dr. Reeves, and was so inspired, I went back home. 2 days later, submitted my letter of resignation and decided to move. Now mind you, this was about 6 months before the grant was even approved. So I took a huge leap of faith with my 3 children and my wife and said, let's go. Thankfully, my wife is very gracious and is okay with a little bit of ambiguity. And the ambiguity is kind of where we all are. We don't know where we're going. And so when I interviewed with Julie and Judy over at KPS, I was extremely excited. It's definitely the kids I want to work with. And when I went and introduced myself, the one thing I was looking for, and Dr. Reeves touched on it, was hope. I walked into that room and I could feel the hope. The teachers, even though it may be a difficult population at times, every single one of them in that room has hope to their core. And that's what I was looking for. And then when Julie and I spoke, I saw it in her as well. So we bonded on that, and it's been growing ever since then.
What he said. So I took a lot of the information and the training that I've had over the years. Being year 30, I've had a lot of training over the years. But was able to bring a lot of the knowledge that I learned early in my career in Battle Creek Public Schools. I know there's a bunch of you out here somewhere. And then a lot of training from Calhoun ISD as a consultant there, leadership coach, under the leadership of Mary Garrigan. I know she's out here somewhere. Where is she? Did a lot of work with protocols and different things, so I was able to bring that to the table when Jeremy and I met. But we took a step back and tried to figure out how can we go slow to go fast, because it's really about relationships. So we had to sit back and say, okay, we know the work we want to do, but we need to make sure that we're bringing our leadership team along. So it started out with the instructional rounds being conducted at Edison. Teachers graciously let the large group come in, and then at the report out is when the staff met Jeremy for the first time, when the large group came in and gave the recommendations and the commendations for our rounds.
So one of the biggest things for me as a facilitator, because I serve in the principal role, one of the biggest things that I wanted to focus on was building trust with the staff. Because if we as facilitators come in with a very specific agenda and want to know the answer right away, it could cause some consternation. It could cause some fear. It could slow down the process. So when we talked, I went back to that interview, they said, what is your idea of what's going to happen to Edison? And I said, I don't know. We don't know where we're going to go. We're going to have to be comfortable in that ambiguity. And I know when you have an interview, you don't want to say you don't know. But then if you know too specifically, then that could also cause concern. So that's where that was the #1 base point that we combined on, I think, at that point, because her face changed. And we kind of laughed, and she looked at Judy like, So.
That's what I was looking for. I didn't want somebody to come in with the answer, because if we have the answer, we're not going to move. So once the instructional rounds were reported out, Jeremy was there, and I had a lot of interest in the staff to be part of this leadership team for the HIL project. I had at least 8 teachers email me say, I want to be on the team. I can only have 3. So how am I going to pick 8 out of 8, plus the ones that didn't necessarily email that are likely just as strong? So I used the teacher leader survey, and the staff chose. It's a process you go through, and the staff votes, and you add it up, and so the staff chose the people that they would be most comfortable working on the leadership team and being in their classrooms. And then this all happened in February, and then during February, after the team was chosen, Jeremy and I just got together regularly and just kind of talked about our vision, because neither one of us knew where we were going. We still don't. We're working through our team.
And I just want to touch on, give Julie some kudos. That was a brilliant move. When she had her own staff choose the teacher leaders, it was an absolutely brilliant move because it empowered the teachers, and that's what we're here for. If you've been part of the instructional rounds process, we say it over and over again. This is all to empower the teachers, because we know true change comes from the grassroots. And that's another point that we definitely agree on.
So spent a lot of time, Jeremy and I, from the first time we spent with Judy in his initial interview, if that's what you want to call it, started forming a relationship, but he needed to form the relationship now with the leadership team. So in mid-March, we secured subs for a day, and then I specifically stepped back, had Jeremy meet with our team, they're over there at table 9, in the morning, and then so they could get to know each other. And then they did their own instructional rounds in the afternoon. We wanted to see if we agreed with what the large group brought to us. So they conducted the same rounds, not necessarily the same level, but did they validate or not validate what the large group brought to the table?
And again, another piece, when you're a principal, you're used to kind of telling things, or you're used to kind of making judgmental evaluations. That's part of our job. The best part about this, there's no judgment in it. The best part about my role now as a facilitator, I can go in and walk alongside the principal, the teachers, and we can have real job-embedded conversations that don't reflect any fear of being evaluated. That is the best part. So whenever I go out in the classrooms, or with the teachers, we'll talk, we'll come back, and like Julie said, we'll talk about it, but she doesn't want to know names, she doesn't do any of that, because we want to keep that trust growing, because we truly have a momentous and miraculous opportunity to affect thousands of kids. And then from these thousands of kids, it can balloon into thousands more, which is the main reason why I moved here, and I'm very passionate about this work.
So I joined this group in the afternoon after they did their rounds, and then we validated what the instructional round process, or they validated what the instructional round process told us. And then we did a hopes and fears protocol. Hopes and fears protocol to figure out if it's your greatest fear of this project, greatest hope, work through that process. And then took that information in late March, had another half-a-day sub, because one of the fears was that they're going to be out of the classroom too many times. So we didn't do another full day, we did a half a day. And we did another protocol, Back to the Future, using the essentials and the GELN essentials. And just, what is this work going to look like for our team, and what essential by essential?
So the future, again, we don't know 100% what it's going to look like, but we definitely have a strong plan now. We did a crosswalk of the K3, 4, 5 essentials, and then crosswalk those with the school-wide essentials, so we can get an understanding of just what the essentials said. And then from that, now our next job is to look at the growth edges, and where do we really want to focus our attention? Because if you look at all the essentials, there's a lot in there, and not every school can do every single essential at the same time. So you prioritize what's most important. But I think the biggest thing is that our relationship is continuing to grow, and with the teachers and everything, because it's still shaky because we don't know each other yet. And when I introduced myself, I said, I know you don't know me from Adam, but I'm going to have to let my words ring true. And the best part about Julie is the support she's given me from day one, because the way that she has shown trust for me from the beginning has helped with her teachers. Because I know, I'm walking into a school and they're like, who's this guy? what's he gonna make us do now? And so the whole role is taking a back seat and asking so many more questions, like Derek said, like Dr. Reeves said, so that we can really build the momentum, so we can build up the community from the ground up.
And just very quickly, the last thing is this is a part of the work that we do. What's helped is I have my large school improvement team, and then the team that was selected, luckily, I think if I were to do it over or have to be mindful of it, they are part of the HIL team is part of the big school improvement team. And then we also have a foundations team and a SIOP team that feed into that. So it's not more work, it's just a leg of the bigger picture.
So it can be done. Be positive. It can happen. There's no fear. Have fun doing it. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.
We thought the best way for you to have some of the words on paper come to life would be to actually have a chance to hear from two people who have started this relationship and started the journey. I know that many of you have already started the journey together with your facilitators. Some of you are working with facilitators who've already been involved in your schools, and so you didn't have to maybe spend as much time getting the relationship going. But in many cases, the person who's your facilitator is a brand new participant, a brand new member of your school community. And so we don't want to rush you through this part of the process. So what we've done, and what I'm going to show you next, is based on the resources that we will bring you relative to the literacy essentials, relative to learning-centered leadership, which is the leadership framework that Dr. Shen and our team at Western has developed over 4 previous grants and validated with documented improvements in student achievement, and through the 7 strategies that we've learned help you achieve high integrity and high fidelity implementation. We're going to work with you in phases which may or may not play out in some kind of linear sequence, but my job for the next couple minutes is to just kind of introduce you to those phases. And if you want to follow along on the slides, but they're also in the handout. I see many people have the handout. You're going to actually go into a breakout after this session, after the break, where you get to have some conversation about how you understand this work. And so let me just talk to you about the phases. So what we've done is we've set up 5 phases of work, each of which is guided by what we call essential questions. It's not our job to come in and impose answers. It's our job to come in and ask questions that are generative, that will help you generate the energy and the ideas and the strategies to achieve high levels of literacy in your school. So in phase 1, we really want to focus on what we've been talking about all morning, which is, why are we committed to this literacy initiative? What is that why for each of us as an individual and for all of us collectively in our school? How does this initiative fit into our school mission and vision? Who's going to lead this work? And who do we need to engage? And what do we imagine as our future? And that imagined future is what's going to inspire us and drive us and pull us forward. Because without that picture of where we're going, it's so easy to get lost along the way. The facilitator's job is to help you have that conversation to whatever degree you need to still have it. Some of you may have completed this conversation already, and your vision is clear and crystal and intact. But maybe some of you need to spend a little more time in that space. Another phase of the work is to help you really get a good picture of where your school is right now. That's why we brought in the instructional rounds teams. That's why we're training our facilitators to help guide you to use instructional rounds in an ongoing way as another way to have a good sense of where you are as a school and to be able to watch your own growth. We want you to be able to articulate what you want your new story to be. What's your story now, and what's it going to be in 2 years? And those stories of our schools have to be told in many ways. They can be told with pictures. They also can be told with information that tells people how we've grown over the last 2 years. So we want to help you build that new story. We want you to be able to examine where your current strengths are. What's working? What's strong? What can we build upon? You'll notice we didn't say anything about what's wrong or what's broken, because we do not think that way. We do not think about you and your schools as something that is wrong or broken. We think of you as places where there is much going on that is working, much going on that is strong, much going on that you can build upon. It's our job to help you identify what that is and be intentional and focused and persistent about that growth. And then what priorities are we going to identify going forward? One of the things that we know that gets in the way of implementing great initiatives is that we try to do too much at once. So part of our conversation with you is, where do we have to set our priorities? If there are 10 places that we can identify as growth edges, we're not going to pursue all 10 at once. We're going to get it down to 2 or 3 and really go after those and get that growth in place, and then we can build from there. That's phase 2. Keep in mind that we only call these phases because that's a convenient term. This will probably all be happening in a more organic way. Phase 3. The essential questions are, how are we going to act on our priorities? This is where we put together our action plan. How do we align all our change initiatives? Most of your schools have more than one initiative going on, which pulls you in multiple directions. Part of what we will be doing with our facilitators is looking for strategies on how to bring all those initiatives together in a more aligned way and help you do that. How are we going to benchmark our progress? Not one initiative at a time, but for all of our initiatives, so that we're not chasing our tail, so to speak, with way too much data and not enough information about what we've actually accomplished. And then how are we going to understand our story as it builds? For each of these phases, we do have outputs. So what we want to do by the end of this summer is to make sure that each of you have growth targets and aligned priorities with action plans for next year. Part of which you're building through your school improvement plan anyway. So hopefully what we're doing is helping you build these plans for your literacy work right into and integrate into your school improvement plan. The last 2 phases are where we actually go into next year and the following year and carry out the work, monitor how we're growing, celebrate how we're growing, and then come up with a revised picture of where we're at so that we can plan for the second year. So by the end of 2019-20, we want to make sure that we can see really significant growth in whatever you target as your priority areas. And our outputs then would be summary of our gains and growth, an updated school profile, which we believe will be something for you to celebrate, and a new action plan for the next year and the next year, and a continuing process of renewal that will sustain you long after we're gone. So those are the 5 phases, and I want to leave you with our vision. We think with this kind of work, Michigan can become the literacy model. We don't have to be number 4 from the bottom or whatever people rank us at. We're not into rankings anyway. We're into growth, we're into celebration, we're into achieving a collective vision. We want to break the code and overpower poverty to the extent that it's getting in the way of our children's progress. We want to leave 152 schools with empowered leadership and renewal capacity to the point where you don't need anybody anymore because you've got it all going on. And we ultimately want to scale and disseminate this work. We want to continue continue with Cohort B and beyond. That's our vision. That's our hope. That's our aspiration. So, with that, I would just like to say to you that I truly believe that literacy opens windows to the world and the universe for every human being. I also believe that through literacy, we open doors of opportunity. And I want to commend each and every one of you for the role you play in opening those windows and doors for our children. You are some of the most important people in their lives, and you will be our most important people for the next 2.5 years. With that, I'd like to just tell you what's happening next. We are going to go into a break. After break, you're going to go to rooms A through F. Right below your name tag is a sticker that says what room you're going to go in. You're going to be sitting with your school team. And the coordinators, our 6 coordinators I mentioned earlier, are going to kick you off with your activity. And the activity is described in your folder. You'll be using the slides that we just looked at, plus an activity guide that the coordinators will help you get started in. Facilitators will join you. If a facilitator has more than one school, you may see your facilitator move from school to school. You also might see one of our facilitators at large join you, and please welcome them into your conversation. The rest of the day until this afternoon when we come back in general session is about you having a chance to process this project and your role in it and the experience you want to have with it. So please enjoy the break, and
hello, wah, wah, wah. Oh yeah, we were still going to do that middle school musical all day long because it's in my head all weekend. It's going to be in yours. Although I wish I could sing a little bit better. That 8th grade lead was amazing. So how many people here thought they'd be rock stars? Don't raise your hand. But anyway.